We are back at Pocket Gamer Connects 2018 in London. I'm joined by Robert Kelly from Papaya Mobile. Good to have you today.
Good afternoon, James. Nice to meet you.
So for those unfamiliar with the company, what is it that you guys do?
Okay, so Papaya Mobile is actually one of the oldest performance marketing mobile specialists out there. Now try saying that after a few drinks. We've been going for about a decade. What we concentrate on is user acquisition for mobile developers. Initially, we started off as a games developer ourselves, and we've had a journey through by which initially, then we became a cross-promotional platform, then a paid-for ad network, then an affiliate network. For the last 4 years, we've been concentrating on social media. So we work with people like Facebook, Google, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Snapchat. Now, what we do primarily is use the huge buying power of Chinese apps. And because we're one of the few authorized resellers for these companies in China, we provide them with a window on the world so that they can actually buy global traffic as well as Chinese traffic through us. So what we're doing now in Europe is we've just reopened the London office, and the economies of scale that we're getting by the sheer size of the budgets that we're dealing with means that we're now able to offer this to European advertisers in user acquisition. And we're going to concentrate initially on the games market, again because this is the most developed user acquisition sector, one where I think a lot of companies are now taking control of their own marketing, and something like this where you can actually make your own marketing budget go further will be of interest.
So how much of a challenge is it to pitch, for example, Chinese games that are designed and created in China for a Chinese audience, and if you're trying to push that over to, for example, somewhere in Europe or somewhere in the Americas, is it a very different task marketing those games to that Western audience?
So that's a little bit of a different question from what we're selling to Western markets is actually a more efficient acquisition through the channels you're already familiar with. But to take back to what you're actually positing, yes, okay. So developers have always got to bear in mind the cultural differences of the markets that they're looking to exploit. Now, sometimes games are easily portable between various different cultures, etc. But we actually used to have a division of the business called Gateway to China, which would take Western games and Sinofy them, and actually change them to be more in keeping, or make suggestions about how to be more in keeping with Chinese cultural sensibilities. That quite often was not so much the changes in gameplay, but changes in the look and feel, changes in how the characters are actually portrayed. So I don't know if you've ever been to China or familiar with Chinese graphic. It's quite a different experience to what we're used to in the West. And so for Chinese companies looking to make it in, quite often there will be Western English language or Western alphabet versions of the games, which are specifically for Western country.
So the journey that you've made, because you say you went through several different phases of the company, I guess, if you like, what prompted those changes, and why are you focusing on the social media stuff now? I
think it's always been about trying to find the most efficient way of actually acquiring users. Now, back in 2008, when we started, there wasn't so much, you wouldn't have thought of advertising or acquiring users through a mobile social media platform. For instance, gaming was in its infancy. The cross-promotional platform that we initially developed, where game developers recommended each other's games, was in fact the most efficient way of gaining new users.
The network.
Yeah, and bringing in a paid-for element, making it more commercial, was the most efficient, and then we moved over to the affiliate network. Affiliate worked very well, but then issues of transparency and clarity and user retention meant that the more efficient ways was something where you actually had a much clearer idea of what actually happened, and actually the data by which you could actually target the users. What happened was that metrics moved from the install to the post-install event.
Right.
Yeah. So what people are now in, it's not about getting up the chart. It's about how much money you're going to make from your advertising or your in-app purchases. What the LTV ultimately is, and for that, you need not just a download. No, download to a user who's going to open the game and play with it, and actually generate some activity which you can then monetize.
Yes,
yeah.
The whole idea of people turning over in 2 weeks. You want to retain
exactly.
the audience and keep them spending.
Even in casual games where there's a limited lifespan, you therefore want people to be engaged as much as possible during that limited lifespan.
Yeah. So as far as 2018 goes, what is it that you're really focusing on this year? Are you talking about streamlining some of your existing systems? Are you expanding into other countries? What's the aim?
Okay, so personally I'd like to lose a little bit of weight, but as a business it's about going to be founding ourselves properly in Europe, putting our roots in and making sure that we have a solid foundation for our business. Mm-hmm. We're a user acquisition specialist, we're a trustworthy user acquisition specialist. We need to actually get those initial clients and get the initial traction, and then we can build it out from there. For me, it's going to be about expanding the business in terms of the client roster, the amount of people we have working for us, and getting our profile built. Once we've done that, then we can actually look at bringing some of the more interesting and innovative stuff that we're doing in China to the West. But at this point,
you need that foundation.
We need the foundation, and also this is, I think, for the games market, this could be an incredibly interesting year. User acquisition is just part of it. We're looking at significant changes in monetization opportunities for gamers. I've been speaking to various different other ad networks. We've got rewarded video playable ads, which are established channels. These are now, we've created within gaming a strong ecosystem, which I think is something which is right to be not necessarily exploited, but used by brands, where you can actually double the amount of available revenue streams to developers. I think we're working in an industry which proves that monetization, we're actually way ahead in many respects of what is going on in mobile and digital generally. I think as a result of that and the engagement that we generate, it's a very exciting time to be in this particular sector. And also it's a good time to be in London, and I look forward to 2018 and hopefully 2019 after it.
As do we all.
Yes.
Fingers crossed for that. Well, best of luck with the future, and look forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Will do.